Welcome to the Nerdtastic in 3D podcast.
It's Nerdtastic in 3D. Oh, it's Nerdtastic in 3D. Yes, it's Nerdtastic in 3D. It's Nerdtastic in 3D.
Bong.
Everybody, are you ready for the greatest show about nerds, video games, comic books, and three-dimensional television films? Then get ready for Nerdtastic at 3D.
We haven't blown out your speakers yet. Keep on with it.
Three-dimensional television films. That was pretty amazing.
In the moment, I couldn't remember the word motion picture. So I just started rolling with whatever came in my head.
Television shows.
I knew that it was like two words. One of them,
I think you might have earned yourself top dog for opening.
Hey, what can I say?
He's an overachiever.
That was better than Adams. I gotta say that.
It's
Way
yeah.
better.
I tell you what, though, after watching, I put up episode 56 on YouTube, and it was last night 57. Adam gets on here and he talks about this time in the global climate, and then Sean stops him and is like, "How does that have anything to do with the global climate at all?"
Nothing.
Not a
So-
damn thing.
We are an entertainment industry podcast full of entertainment industry professionals talking to you about anything that we find entertaining. My name's Jason Carter.
I'm Jack Eckler.
I'm Jason Pecco.
I'm Josh LeBrat.
I'm Sean Turney.
Can you please talk like that the rest of the night?
Your wish is my command, Jason Carter.
It's like Josh when we wanted to talk like the movie man.
Oh, yeah.
The movie
The whole
announcer.
time. Can only do it for so long.
So how are the weekends?
Ours were not as good as yours.
Possibly. It's possibly true.
I'm being honest for everyone.
Yeah? Nothing fun happened? Because I got a story.
I had a fun little concert experience.
Oh,
Name
Josh.
it. Depeche Mode?
No.
POD.
A man by the name of Steve Stevens.
Is he from POD?
So basically, what this guy is he is a guitar player, and he played for many bands over the years, like POD. He was the first man in
Mode?
POD's band before they were POD.
Played for a band called Steve Stevenson.
He played with just a bunch of big people. He was really big in the 80s. He still dresses and does his hair like he's in the 80s.
So you played for Starship.
Yeah. But he's also, I don't know if you guys ever saw this. There was this TV show.
Called Chips?
No. It was like some rock and roll wives or rock and roll love or something like that.
Matlock?
Rock of Love?
Not the Brett Michaels thing. This was like, had like
Law and Order SVU.
Perry Farrell.
Army Wives?
No.
3D stereo TV
I'm going
show.
to just nut punch all of you guys here.
Adam's not here. We're making
know.
up for it.
Yeah. There's 4 Adams in the room today.
So anyway, he was on this show on like MTV or something, and followed around a couple of rock stars and their girlfriends' wives, and they all kind of got together. Blah blah blah. Anyway, so he does this show, and he just plays with a bunch of different musicians, and he has just different friends come, wherever town he's in or something like that, and come up and play on stage with them. So we went to the show. This first singer that he kind of has this like solid band. This first singer comes up. Kills it. I don't know who it is. A lot of people apparently do. I don't. But he was an amazing singer. And then he goes, okay, Sebastian Bach's going to come up next. So Sebastian Bach came up and did a bunch of songs and stuff like that. But I mean, they were all covers.
Did you know that the other guys were going to be there?
No.
Just Steve Stevenson.
Yeah. I had no idea who like the guests were going to be, because he just kind of like brings them up on stage. They're kind of like special guests. And
Bach practically invented music.
he did. Especially when he was in Skid Row.
That's the other one.
Oh,
there you go. So Sebastian Bach comes up, he does his thing, sings "I Will Remember You," from Skid Row's big, their big hit and stuff like that. And that's how he kind of walks out. And then he goes, I think Billy Idol's here. He goes, Billy Idol, come up and play with us. So Billy Idol comes up and plays, and it's in the Viper Room, which is the size basically of this table, is the size of the Viper Room. And air conditioning has been shut off. It's like hot as balls, and there's tons of people crammed in there because, Steve Stevens, I guess, to a lot of people, not to me, I didn't know, it's kind of a big deal. So Billy Idol comes up, and they start playing the song, and Billy
White
Idol...
Wedding.
Not White Wedding.
Dude.
Rebel Yell.
Not yet.
Okay.
So he starts some other song, and he's about to start, and he goes, I don't remember, how does the song start? And he sits there, and they're kind of like laughing, and somebody leans over in his ear and tells him, and he sit there, and they start playing, and he has the mic up, and he goes, I'm really not trying to be funny here. I fucking can't remember how the song really goes. So some people are like yelling it. Some people are talking on stage to him, and they're still kind of just playing the song, like waiting for it to start. And someone hands him an iPhone, and he's like looking at it from like what? Like looking at this iPhone, still trying to figure out the lyrics. And finally, he remembers, and he goes, "Okay, I remember the second part, but I don't remember the first part." And he starts the song. He gets into a part where the song kind of breaks down a little bit, and he does another line, and he's just like, "Fuck." And he just doesn't know it again. And then so they're just sitting there kind of like waiting for him to, "Come on, buddy." And then he goes, "Oh yeah, okay, got it." And plays the song, and then he does Rebel, and everything like that.
He remembers that one?
Yeah, he remembers that one. So it was kind of a pretty, epic, random showing of people, but like in this small kind of like really intimate venue. And so I saw Billy Idol there randomly. And so that was kind of fun.
You don't think about that when you go to these shows and you see bands who've been around forever. And I had never thought about this, and this is for a group I don't like, but my wife loves Bare Naked Ladies. Not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
But what I didn't know is they've been around well before I even knew who they were, and they have this cult following, I guess. There was a private show, I don't know, maybe this is 5 years ago, that's probably 6 years ago. They played at the Century City Mall. What mall is that there? But they played like in the Barnes & Noble. It was literally the super secret private show. Somebody from a friend of a friend told me about. I'm like, really? Do you need tickets? They're like, no. Just show up at the bookstore. I'm like, bullshit. We show up, and literally, they set up a mini stage in the middle of the Barnes & Noble, and it's fucking Bare Naked Ladies. It was such a small. It was like 30 people who like were in the and people coming in and out of the store like, what the fuck? But what was the best? At one point, they go, okay, we're gonna pass around a hat. Write down any one of our songs you want to know, or fuck it, write down any song. I'm like, all right. The best was almost what happened to Josh. They would go through notes, and the dude, the lead singer, pulls one out. He's like, "Oh fuck, we definitely don't know that one." and he literally like 3 deep. He's like, "We did sing this one, but I guarantee." And he passed it around. He goes, "Do any of you even remember how to start that?" The one dude's like, the drummer hits like 2 drums. He's like, "Yeah, I got nothing on that one."
Yeah.
And even the one they finally started to, they had to like, 2 of the guys had to get it going before they were like, oh, okay. And I had never registered me that I'm sure this happens with a lot of people. I mean, I'm not even sure if this happened with Jay when you guys had your group, but like that you have so many songs that you just don't even remember anymore. Like some of the tracks.
Even if you don't like have that many songs, say you just have like one album, or you've done these 7 songs like 500 times, and you take a break and you don't play them, and you pick it back up, you're just like, it goes to here, right? Like, this is the next thing. No, it goes da-da-da-da-da.
Feeling your way through
Oh,
it.
yeah. You literally have to, like, you'll know it, and it'll come back to you. It's not like you have to learn it, like, note for note again. You just have to remember how it goes. And remembering how it goes is, like, one of the hardest things.
Did you have that at all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I have a really bad time remembering lyrics. Like, I can listen to a song, stop the song, and start singing it and forget the lyrics that I just, like, sung along
Weren't
to.
you the singer?
Yeah. This really, ask my wife sometimes. It's a really bad situation. So you reminded me of this story once that when we played a couple of different places, but we played once in my hometown. There was, like, this one pizza shop that had a basement, and they gutted the basement and turned it into, like, this really small venue that could hold maybe 150 people, maybe, like, a really small little place. And we played one time, and this is like a local show kind of deal. Like, we just called up the guy who did the booking, and we're like, hey, we're all in town.
So tell people who you were. in case you get some royalties out of this for your old album.
They're nowhere to be found. In college, I was in a rock band that was had a brief stint at a record label, and we played some shows, played around with some fun people.
What was your name? What was the name of the band?
I plead the fifth.
Why are you fighting this?
You will not.
That's
It doesn't matter. I'll tell you. You will
I'm
not
just
be
going to
able.
look it up on Spotify real quick.
Do it. You will not find it. I guarantee it. It is nowhere to be found. The only place those albums exist is on my iPhone
And in your heart.
And I have some CDs at home. It's called 3 to Get Ready. Some good friends from college. We formed a band. We actually.
Is that, the number 3 or spelled out?
Spelled out. So we actually formed the band as Don't Hit Your Sister was the original name, and we performed at a Battle of the Bands in college as a joke. So we just wrote some goofy songs, and we had all our dorm mates, like all the guys in the dorm, sing along, and they went freaking nuts, tore off their shirts, spit water all over the crowd, and we won, and we ended up winning. And people came up to us like, "Hey, that was a lot of fun. You guys should do this." So then we actually formed the band and got signed and things.
Did you guys release an album in 2008 called "Holy Is the Lord"?
No.
Okay. Well, there's another 3 to Get Ready out there.
Did you make a documentary film
no,
about
I'm sorry.
Duran Duran?
That is actually us.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it so? This picture, this album covers you? Are you right?
That is actually us.
No, that's a bunch of old men.
That's an awesome picture.
I know, being sarcastic.
Post that. That's Jason
Hold
right
on.
there in
Wait,
the
wait.
middle with no hair.
Did you guys write a premarital counseling manual? 3 to Get Ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Good luck.
Just wondering.
Anyways, this is besides the point. That was the whole story.
The pizza shop.
Signed to a record label, and we ended up going our separate ways. Got a gig at DreamWorks, and we kind of all went our. One guy became a JAG lawyer, still is.
Whoa.
Anyways, so
That TV show is great, by the way.
one time we were in my hometown hanging out. I think it was for a Thanksgiving thing. We called up the guy and we're like, "Hey, we're all just in town. You got any shows this weekend? Can we come play?" And so he's like, "Hey, you guys, we hadn't heard from us in a while. We were signed at the time." He's like, "Absolutely, we'll totally put you on." He's like, "We're putting you with this band called Goat Punishment." I'm like, "What?"
Is that how you met Jack?
So I'm like,
You sick. Kill it.
I'm like, what? I'm like, whatever. And the best part is he's like, the only thing is, and he was really apologetic. He's like, Goat Punishment's going to headline, and I'm like, I've never heard of these people before. I'm like, whatever, it's fine. We're like, we don't care. We're at home. We just want to play. So we go, and we're like, right before the Goat Punishment, we play or whatever. And as we're finishing up our last song, Goat Punishment comes down the stairs. And I freaking recognize who Goat Punishment is. It's Weezer. And they play at private small venues to practice for their big tours as a different name.
That's funny.
So they play at all these little tiny shops all over wherever they happen to be. Or like if they're playing in San Francisco and they're playing the next day in L.A., they'll stop off in Bakersfield, play this little thing as Goat Punishment so they don't get these huge crowds that show up. But anybody who's a big Weezer fan knows that Goat Punishment is Weezer. And so they kind of listen up for all the local places, and when they hear Goat Punishment's playing. So anyways,
That's pretty awesome.
I sort of played with Weezer. Sort of.
But like, were you packing up as they're coming in? You're like, oh, look, you're nothing like I thought you were
No,
going
it's literally
to be.
because the process is the process.
We don't have the
Weird
camera
Al.
working.
The process was, you tear down the drums. This takes the longest thing to tear down. So everybody packs their guitars up, chucks them off stage, and then you pack up the drums while the next band's starting to load up. So like we're literally on stage with them. I'm like, I think that's the guy, the little like guy from Weezer, I think. And then like they start playing My Name Is Jonas, and I'm like, what? Are you like a bad cover band? Like what is this?
A bad
I'm like,
cover band.
they're not
You
really
guys suck.
hitting it. Yeah, they're not really hitting it.
Anyways, but it was so. I don't know
That's
why you're
pretty
bringing it up,
awesome.
but it's like this little venues that. So sometimes people do that, like these big, huge, crazy stars. I've also heard that Slash will just randomly show up at the Whiskey A Go Go and just like, I brought my guitar, let me plug in and start ripping it up.
And that place too is ridiculously small, and like just the corner is the stage.
Foo Fighters do it up by them.
Paladinos.
They do it because they Jeff Sullivan, who I want to get on the show, who sits behind me, was a gold record drummer who turned CG artist for a band called Driving and Crying in the 80s. And he gets calls still. He knows all these people, and he's like, I'm like, what are you doing tonight? This is about a year or two ago. He's like, I don't know. I just got some random call to show up at this venue tonight. I'm like, what? He's like, he comes over, whispers, and he's like, Foo Fighters are playing there. Don't tell anybody. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, they just want to hang out and play some songs. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's this
That's
place
LA.
in Reseda.
No, that's what it is.
called
A Reseda.
Paladinos.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's
and
exactly
it's
it.
like this weird. Like I've been there once to see
He
a
lives up
friend of
there.
mine's buddy. Yeah, because Dave Grohl lives out in Encino in the Valley, and so there's this bar, Paladinos, and it's like this 80s hair metal bar. And I went to see a buddy of mine who played guitar in some like shitty band, but the band that played after him was an Ozzy Osbourne cover band. And I say Ozzy Osbourne because it wasn't Sabbath. It was post-Sabbath Ozzy Osbourne years, like Mama, I'm Coming Home. These dudes lived it. It was amazing. The one guy looked like Ozzy Osbourne, and they had like wooden, like cut out like little like props that were like made it look like they were playing in front of a castle, but a poorly like if you had like a shitty kid's birthday party and they did like 15 Ozzy songs, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. And after I went and saw that show, like a month or two after, I remember reading in Rolling Stone that every once in a while the Foo Fighters will play it under, I think, an assumed name too. And I'm like, that shitty whole, like, how
I thought you were going to tell me it was really the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, that would have been incredible. That would have been the best thing.
Yeah.
So Weezerpedia says the name Goat Punishment was used for a series of shows at small venues. The purpose of these shows were usually to practice a set list for an upcoming opening slot or work on new material in front of live audiences. So we just happened to hit a day where they were playing. Anyways.
Did you meet him? I mean, I didn't talk to you. Did you talk to him?
Yeah. They were cool guys. Drummer was really fun.
They say you sound good?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the music scene, especially the kind of like the indie level stuff, everybody's super kind. There's very few egos. Like, I mean, everybody's trying to fight against the record labels, and it's a fun environment. People play together a lot. I got to play on stage with the Ataris. They called me up to play one of the San Dimas High School football rules. So it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Anyways, weekends. So I wanted to tell you, moving on in life, I had kids. And what? Yeah. And we did, going through a big crunch time right now, so we had one last kind of family adventure for the weekend before I don't see my family for weekends for a while. And we decided we were going to go down to San Diego and do the SeaWorld thing and then hit Legoland. So we did SeaWorld. We had done that before. A lot of fun. I think I've talked on the show before. I used to be a tour guide there, so some good memories. But we went to Legoland. I had never been there before, but I wanted to share some experiences for anybody who hasn't been to Legoland. So I'll say this: my theme park experience has only been a handful of theme parks. I've been to SeaWorld, some zoos, obviously Disneyland, and Magic Mountain. Never been to Knott's, Great
Universal?
America.
Have you been to Universal?
Oh, Universal. Yeah, I've been to Universal.
Great America in Illinois?
No, in what's it called? The one up
Magic Mountain.
No, the one up near in the Bay Area. I forget what it's called.
Oh,
Great
dude,
America?
that one's horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty
They
bad.
call half of, but by the way, they call half of them Great America.
Yeah.
Do they really?
Yeah,
I didn't know
it's
that.
very funny.
But my experience with theme parks has pretty much been that nobody holds a candle to Disneyland, right? Like Disneyland has something for everyone, which is unique. But on top of that, there's a level of detail and an attention to detail that exists there that it doesn't exist in any other theme park in the world. Like the Disney parks are an experience in and of themselves. They're in a league in and of themselves.
And the employees, by the way, too. Like going to Six Flags, like you'll ask somebody for help, and they're like, "Oh, I don't
like smoking.
see you." Yeah, they're like smoking a cigarette.
The security staff is not even close to as good as what Disney has. Not at all.
So this is my like preconceived idea of all theme parks is that no one will ever meet up to Disneyland. And so I want to jump ahead in the story. So Legoland does not quite meet up to Disneyland because Disneyland's in a league with its own. But I will say this: Legoland was brilliant. Honest to God, I would go back anytime. It's expensive, totally worth it. Like, for one, everybody I've talked to who's gone to Legoland had said that it's all for little kids, and all the rides are for little kids. And that is 100% true. All the rides there are for little kids. My daughter, 2 years old, just hit the minimum height requirement for all the rides. They're, like, entertaining for her. I was bored by the rides. But on every single ride, there's some crazy thing built out of Legos. And I'm not talking about like, hey, look over there. There's like a little monkey. It's like, check out that giant 7-foot ogre that took 400,000 Lego blocks to make. So I was like, everywhere I went, I was mesmerized by this idea that just like Disneyland, there's something for everyone. Meaning while you're going there and being entertaining your kids, you can look around and be like, man, that's so crazy that it's sculptural. They nailed that, or they got this. And then, the whole park is like this. And so there's all these places that have these sculptures. I don't know what to call them. These sculptures built out of Legos. and really impressive stuff. And you just go up next to them and like see they're built out of bricks, and it's
I
just
know the Lego cities are awesome. Like when they do like the downtown.
yeah. So
like,
you're jumping ahead a little bit, but I was going to say so we circled the park and did all the rides with my daughter, and there's lots of fun stuff to see. And then it was like nap time, so my kids like fell asleep in the stroller, and then for like an hour and a half. Exactly right. They have this whole section that like kids would be bored to tears, but it's called Miniland, and it's basically like famous cities reconstructed, like not just famous monuments, which is what I thought I would see, but like full-on cities reconstructed in Legos. So here's Washington, D.C., and I was like, I had seen pictures of the Capitol building made out of Legos. Okay, cool. Nothing wrong with that. It is freaking the size of a city bus. It is gigantic. And it's not just, here's the Capitol. It's you look over the Capitol, it's the whole mall. So there's a river, or I can't remember what it's called. I'm blanking. The water, and then the Washington Monument, and then more water, and then the freaking Lincoln Memorial. And then off to here, the White House, over here, the Jefferson. It's like the whole deal. And they go to the level of like, oh, here's the residential area, and they have some houses. And so really good example to the level of detail is, you guys have been to San Francisco, yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So San Francisco, if you ever do the touristy thing, has Pier 39, I think it is, it's famous for having all the seals.
Yeah.
Right? So it's got all these seals off of it. Sure enough, I have a photo. They freaking have Pier 39, and they have a whole thing of seals, these little seals that are about like, yay big, just built out of these blocks. But I was like, and they had Lombard Street and all this crazy stuff. But it was like amazing. Like here, I'm showing a picture, but like look.
Oh, that's amazing.
Like they have.
I was just there when I was at GDC.
Oh, yeah.
I was at that exact spot. Yeah.
But it's amazing. Like the level of detail is crazy. And I mean, they have everything from like, there's a couple pictures, but like Coit Tower, you've been.
No,
right?
no, I've been. I was going to say, just on the detail, did they still have New Orleans?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And did they have the funeral procession down the street?
Yep.
That's what blew me. I was like, are you kidding me?
And I was like, okay, cool. So maybe they'll show a little funeral. The cars are on some kind of like, here's a car built out of Legos about the size of like a laptop computer, right? It's like yay big. And it's on a dirt like road. It's moving. There's some kind of magnetic structure or electrical structure underneath. And so these, like you're looking at DC and you're seeing like traffic patterns built out of freaking Legos. It's like the level of detail, I never heard it described before, so I wanted to share. It was unreal. So
I like the New York one. I like when they did like Grand Central Station, and like you saw like the different levels, and then the subway, and like they broke it down like half of the.
So are all of them to that same scale, where a car is about the size of the?
Yeah, I mean they're close.
Okay.
So then the two highlights for sure were Vegas. Had you guys seen Vegas? They have Miniland Vegas.
I'm not sure that was there when I was there.
Unbelievably nailed it. It is unreal. To the point where they have the marquees for each thing, and they've got like in Lego bricks like a 2D mosaic of like a magician with like, doing some magician-y pose. And it's like the Mirage. And they have...
You mean like Sean Kearney and his
Little Magician?
It was unreal. And they also, I don't know when, I'm going to say recently, I don't know if it was recently, they have a Star Wars thing where they've recreated famous scenes from all the Star Wars movies in freaking Legos. And the best one, I don't have a picture of it, unfortunately, the best freaking one is Endor from, they have these little Christmas trees, like these little, like, I don't know, maybe 4-foot Christmas trees. But the scale is such that they built a whole Ewok village inside these like 4-foot Christmas trees. So you feel like you're this giant looking into this forest.
That's awesome.
So all amazing. But another reason I want to share a story is this opening weekend of the Legoland Hotel. We didn't go stay at the hotel, it just happened to be opening weekend. There is a level of polish in this hotel that honestly I think rivals the Disneyland hotels. It is amazing. You walk in the front doors and there's just sections, like these big pods of hundreds of thousands of Lego bricks with kids just sitting in these pods just building stuff. And all these huge, crazy, ornate sculptures, and it's just amazing. So then, this is in the morning, right before the park opens, we're hanging out at the hotel and checking out because we had heard that it opened. There's this one sculpture of this dragon in a soapy bubble bath, all made out of Legos, like, 200,000 Legos, I don't know. And so I'm holding my daughter and I'm standing, I'm like, look, it's made out of blocks. She understands blocks. It's made out of blocks. And so she kind of is sitting there, and I was like, look, Eloise, do you see it's made out of blocks? And the dragon goes, hi, Eloise. My name is Soapy the Dragon.
No way.
And
Did its mouth move?
I'm like, no.
Okay.
It was just, there was a speaker in it. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. There's some like, and it was like, how are you today? To the point where I was kind of like, okay, this is some pre-recorded thing. It picks up on voice, it registers a name, and it's some really smart computer like algorithm thing. And so I was like, Eloise, can you say hi, Soapy? And she's like, hi, Soapy. And Soapy goes, hi, sweetheart. It's nice to meet you. And I'm like, this is starting to be a little too conversational. And I'm like, and then the dragon, like, I'm like, okay, this is fun. The dragon goes like, are you excited about your day in Disneyland or in Legoland today? And I was like, can you say yes? And she's like, yes. And the dragon goes, what do you want to see today? And like, it's conversational. I'm like, what? This is amazing technology. How has someone not advertised this? And I look over to the right, and there's a teenage girl with an iPad dressed in, I'm going to say, civilian clothing. She's got a hoodie on, and she's just chilling with her hood up like she's basically playing an iPad game. And then I look over at her, and right when Eloise goes, hi, she says, hi, Soapy. I see this girl look up and go, hi, Eloise. Her job was to stand about 50 feet away from this dragon, and she had, I guess, a little mic, and she was interacting with whoever came up to it. And then to the point where, like, it was so cool. And she saw me recognize her, and I was like, this is amazing. And then as we were leaving, Soapy the dragon yelled, bye-bye, Eloise. Like, it was so cool and such a simple idea. But, like, the idea that someone had thought of this, I mean, I can't say enough about it.
They do that with Push, which is the talking trash can in
Oh,
Tomorrowland.
Right.
Because I have two friends who do this, and it's the same concept. They're there with a small mic, and they come up.
Wait, there's a talking trash can?
Oh, yeah.
It's called
It's
Push.
super badass. Yeah. The other one that does it that actually is really cool at California Adventure at the Toy Story ride, the Mr. Potato Head, which is neat because they recorded Don Rickles does the voice of Mr. Potato Head, and they recorded a bunch of different segments of him talking, and then there's somebody who live is piecing them together. And I don't know
like
if
a soundboard. They
names,
just like press buttons.
but it's like a soundboard. And so, like, if you walk up and you're wearing a blue shirt, you can go like, "Nice blue shirt," blah, 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 and it's someone live is looking at it and then typing in what Don Rickles is actually pre-recorded saying.
Or
which is
maybe
pretty
they
neat.
have Don Rickles
Don
in a
Rickles
chamber.
is dead.
Yeah, no,
so
it doesn't
there's that.
matter. Doesn't
Now,
matter.
where they're going with this tech, and I might have mentioned on one of the shows before. So another one of my friends is one of the head puppeteers for Disney company as a whole. I know a couple people who are puppeteers. One of the new things they've gotten into in the last probably 10 years has been the first one was Crush, and it's a show called Turtle Time. They have it at California Adventure. They also do it that started at Epcot.
Turtle Talk with Crush.
Yes, and basically it's a CG version of Crush the turtle, but there's a puppeteer behind a screen with a mic and a PlayStation controller that he's actually puppeteering the CG video game style, but he's talking and it actually is synced to his it's synced to his voice.
But it's not just, when you say video game style, I mean, it's a legit CG animation.
No,
it doesn't look
it's-
like a video
yeah.
game.
I mean, but the way he can control it, he has some basic controls how he can move around the screen. Where they're going with it, talking to them not too long ago, they're doing a Monsters Inc. version of this as well. But where they're going with it is they want to have the kids, or I guess maybe they are doing this now. The kids, they give them basically like an IR pad or like a name tag with their name, but it actually has an IR chip in it. So when the kid's out in the stand, they can scan. And he's like, my buddy was saying, like, you can. It's so awesome to mess with kids because they can go like, everybody's got their heads up, and they'll be like, Stan, and the kids are looking around. The kid like, and they're like, yeah, Stan, you in the red shirt. And like parents at this point are like, what the fuck? How the hell does he know Stan? Stan will walk up, but then maybe his sister comes with it. The reader will pick up the sister's name and is like, well, I didn't say bring Alice with you. And all of a sudden it's like this over-the-top interactive experience that like it's mind-blowing. And what they've done recently is he just got back from the cruise ships, some of the new Disney cruise ships. They have a dining experience where you have portholes by your dining table where Crush can swim up to your porthole at your table and sit and have a conversation off the same way. He has he knows who's sitting there because they give a name list, so he knows.
Yeah.
He can go up and be like, Josh, Jay, what the hell? Are you guys having a good time at your dinner? Like, are you talking to us, Crush? Hell yeah, I'm talking to you. Because there's mics on the table as well. So you get like this uber interactive experience with Crush.
That's super neat.
And he talks, my buddy, like all the actors all have, they're like, yo, dude, Josh, really liking your food. But like where they've been taking that is just like all the way from what they're doing at Legoland, which is awesome. They're getting into that. Like it's just, dude.
DreamWorks is kind of doing
it's
something
amazing.
like that. They do it in a smaller scale, only for like special events and stuff. But they were doing the Magic Mirror with a guy being mocapped.
It
so when
for
he was
the,
talking,
it was for the Shrek the musical.
Yeah.
yes. And then they want to do something. I think right now they're trying to do that same technology, but with for Peabody and Sherman. They're going to have Peabody, be there, and they want to mocap somebody's face, doing live, and he's talking and interacting.
That's cool.
So I just want to say, I was blown away by Legoland. Like, it is definitely, the rides are very much for little kids, but I would go back by myself just to soak
it's for
up the
kids
visuals.
and adults, but teenagers would.
Are all those statues or whatever, are those hand constructed?
Yeah.
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 Fucking
I mean,
wild, man.
it's unreal. And I hate DreamWorks. You want to know why?
Fair enough. No, we can just end
Because
on
at SeaWorld, there used to be one of the the 4D experiences where it's a 3D movie and the seats rumble or they spray water in your face or something. There was a 4D movie at SeaWorld for years called The Pirate's Adventure, and it was like Leslie Nielsen, and it was like it was cheesy and awesome, and they're replacing it with a Madagascar themed 4D experience.
Hey man, that's how I felt when
angry. You
wanna
Universal
move it?
replaced Miami Vice with the fucking Waterworld show, and that shit still
was a
exists
Miami
today.
Vice show
It
there?
was the sickest Miami Vice show ever.
And the only Miami
And
Vice
Miami
show.
Vice show. But one thing I wanted to bring up is that one of the coolest things I ever went to is the Imagineering department at Disney, who make all the theme park rides. They had a presentation that I got to go to once where they send like 3 guys out to theme parks across the country for 2 weeks every year, and they come back and report on their findings. And so this group had gone to a bunch of different theme parks, and they were showing it was like a video slideshow about kick-ass theme parks. And they had the first thing they said is that Dollywood, which is Dolly Parton's theme park, closest thing to a Disney experience. They said they were like, if we had to say of Universal Studios,
I'll go into that
nature,
after this.
Dollywood. But they also showed one which unfortunately does not exist anymore. It was closed down. But it was probably the coolest theme park I've ever heard of. Hard Rock had a theme park in South Carolina. And they showed 2 rides on this theme park. And you can YouTube walkthroughs of both these rides. And I suggest you do because they're so, so cool. One of them was a Led Zeppelin ride. And this ride I think it was called A Whole Lotta Love with Led Zeppelin. What you did is you walked into line. When you got to a certain part in the line, you actually entered a giant Zeppelin. Then there was I think it was a 2D concert experience, but it was in 10.1 surround sound. And what they did is there was a screen where Zeppelin was playing live, like it looked like it. It was a live concert film. And they had all the people were crammed in, but it looked like you were in a concert venue. And they even had people on screen who were like standing in front that made it look like you were live at a concert. They start playing A Whole Lotta Love. They get to a point in A Whole Lotta Love. I think towards the middle of the song, there's like a little breakdown that just goes to drums. At that point, the doors open in this theater, and you all walk out and sit in a roller coaster car. And the roller coaster takes off, but the roller coaster is sunk up to the song that you've been listening to since you walked into this concert. And it starts building, and as the song starts building back into like what is like the big finale to the song, you're going up to a big drop.
Awesome.
Then you drop down and you go through this roller coaster listening to A Whole Lotta Love. That's sunk up perfectly. Like every dip is sunk up. That is only topped by what might be the greatest theme park ride I've ever heard of in my life, which was Moody Blues, The Trip. And this was
Is it the same theme park?
This is the same theme park. This is a ride based on the song Nights in White Satin by the Moody Blues. You walk through the line and it's like black light posters everywhere and it's like very like hippie, like super cool. You sit down in a car and this is like kind of a slower paced ride where you almost feel like you're kind of like hovering above ground because they're trying to recreate an LSD trip with this theme park ride. You like at one point you're riding your car through like what looks like through a giant like eyeball that's just blinking. It's like every acid scene in a 60s movie. You like go through it on your theme park ride. And this thing closed down in a year.
Wow.
Really, that didn't take off.
Is it closer representation to an acid trip than the Winnie the Pooh ride at Disneyland?
Which I will say is a fucking solid ride, Winnie the Pooh.
That's
It
not
is
bad.
an acid trip, but It's like a really well done ride that's way hidden in the theme park and never has a line.
Here's a fun tip.
Well done.
In case you guys didn't know this, a little Disney trivia for you. Winnie the Pooh the ride was built over the old Country Bear Jamboree. And after the Swirling Honey Pot, if you look up behind you in the rafters, it's all like mounted in the rafters are all the animatronic talking heads from the
It looks terrifying.
It does.
It looks
The
terrifying.
dead country bears who they rolled over to build the Winnie the Pooh ride are all mounted.
They're there
amazing.
staring down at all of the cars. In
So
contempt.
I got two things. So one, my Legoland experience was almost what Jay said to a T. Was I went 8 years ago with a girlfriend at the time. We were done by noon, and I rode every ride they would let me ride. I'm a Lego fanatic as it is, so like I was totally into going when I moved out here. So there were certain rides they wouldn't let me on. I was too tall, but I literally rode ones that I wasn't even supposed to ride because the park was kind of slow that day. Just because, like you probably saw, did you ride with Eloise at all?
Yeah.
Okay, so even though ones for little kids, there were still giant things. Like, and at the time when I was there, Harry Potter had just came out, so a lot of the theming was to Harry Potter. So I'm like, this is kind of cool. But by noon, we had seen the whole park, and I had rode everything they would let me ride. The city, by far the coolest. A giant life-size Volvo that they had modeled to scale. I mean, it's the size of a normal Volvo.
That's still there.
Is it the blue one?
Yeah, but it's not. It's a shell over a real Volvo. If you look under the wheel,
Is it?
You look in the wheels are real. You look under the wheel, and you can see the
The
chassis.
car?
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. So anyways, the cool park. The Legoland Hotel I've been reading about lately. I definitely want to check out because I've seen interior photos of the rooms.
But you were done by noon.
Yeah, we had seen everything and
feel
done
like-
everything.
I feel like I could go back for 2 more days.
I
And
had
not
no
have-
kids.
They've expanded it a
This
little
is
bit
8
more
years.
since then. Yeah, I mean, I went in like 2001, I think it was. That was like 12 years ago, and the park hadn't been open that long, and we did it pretty quickly. It was more we went to some of the areas where you can build like the Legos, and they have like the little racetrack and everything like that. So I was building mine to race like all the kids and stuff like that too. I won, by the way.
Yeah, we did. I
Just
I
FYI.
milked it. I mean, I milked everything that I could milk out
And
of
you
that.
were done by noon.
And I actually opened the park. It was one of the first times I've ever woke up that early to go to a theme park.
Man, that's funny. I honestly, we didn't see everything.
Had
We were there
I
all day.
had kids, now if I had taken Dylan now, it'd be a totally different experience, I'm sure. But so that's that. Fucking A, Dollywood, dude. Dollywood. So my family growing up, we used to go to a part of Tennessee called Gatlinburg, which is up in the Smoky Mountains.
which we discussed in episode 58,
We
which
did.
hasn't
You
been
can go
posted
back.
yet.
Yeah, which you can go back and listen to the alpine sledding stories of Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
But what is close to Gatlinburg, and it was about 3 years ago we went back, our whole family got together, is a place called Pigeon Forge, which is like a touristy area outside of Gatlinburg, which is touristy on its own right. But that's where Dollywood's at. My mom knew somebody and got Dollywood tickets. We're like, well, let's just... you hear about it, you're like, okay, Dolly Parton has a theme park. This can't, whatever. It is one of the most beautiful parks you'll ever just be in, period. One, the landscaping on how they built it. The only other park I think that's close to it is the Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Virginia, if you've ever been, where it's like it's just part of the forest. And they build the theme park around the forest without ripping almost anything up.
And all of the employees are dressed like colonial townsfolk.
There are some, yes. There are some. Oddly
Wow.
enough. I know there was probably a joke waiting to happen, but
there a
no, they're really
town crier?
they're really there's eagles
Town drunk?
you could see. But it
Jay's
was
the town crier and the town drunk.
it was as
in my
clean as Disney, if not cleaner. There's things I pointed out. I mean, I'd worked at the park for 5 years, so I was like, I'm very judgmental on these things. And I'm watching, I'm like, I literally was blown away by that. I was blown away by like how well it was kept. The rides they had, like a good diversity of rides for little kids, and then the roller coasters they had were pretty insane too. They would go through the forest, which were cool. Most of the rides were. I literally left blown away that the experience I had there. I had not expected to have that good a time there as I did. And actually, we're supposed to go back this summer with the family again, and I'm going to see if I can score tickets to go back because it's
Can you
it's that fun.
also get video of your dad going down the concrete?
The alpine sled?
Yes.
Yeah, I tried last time to get him
Shooting
to go
off.
down, and the fear in his eye. He's I'm going to be in the bar.
It's a good place to be.
But I would recommend if you are on the East Coast and in Tennessee, Dollywood.
Yeah.
But before, if you're in the East Coast and you're in Tennessee, I'm sorry.
If you're on the East Coast before you go to Dollywood, go to Bojangles.
No, the only thing I'm sorry about is the Hard Rock is no longer on the East
Yeah.
Coast. To
It
go
was-
to
So that was open for a year, right?
I think it wasn't very long. I think it was about a year from when it like officially opened its doors to when it closed.
And it's pretty new over the last like 5 years, right?
I guess it was probably over the last 5 years.
Because I saw another thing on like Discovery Channel or something. They were showing a really rad roller coaster that had like it was like a circle car that you like rolled along the track that was supposed to be super rad, but I guess that didn't do so well.
They said the problem with it, at least the Disney guys had said, the big problem was that it was not in whatever the main city is in South Carolina. It was like
Charleston?
yeah, it was somewhere else where it was like 50, 60 miles from the nearest like major airport. Like it just was like in a shitty area. And then they said, my favorite thing they said though is the guy took a lot of pictures of like, he's like, what you see a lot of in this place is parents like looking like they're beside themselves and teenagers looking like, what the fuck am I doing here? Because there was
I'm sure you
nothing
could
modern.
drink. I'm sure you could drink.
Yeah.
I probably was just rip people like
Yeah.
in the entire theme park.
Oh yeah.
It's in Tennessee. Come on.
Freestyle Music Park, formerly the Hard Rock Park, was a music theme park in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Myrtle Beach.
No, Myrtle Beach is popular though.
That opened in
Oddly.
2008 and then temporarily closed in 2008 due to financial issues, reopened in 2009, and closed again after 2009.
Whoops.
That's awesome. Dude. 6 month stints.
Yeah.
Reopened again in 2010.
It
Closed
does, not,
again.
it does not say. I think that's it.
What are some of the shows? Go scroll down, Jay.
I think that's it. By the way, we're on Wikipedia in case anyone wants to. Malibu Beach Party was a show. There's a roller coaster, Led Zeppelin the ride.
Bohemian Rhapsody show.
Ooh. You could eat at Alice's restaurant.
Roller coaster slippery when wet. How did this fail? It's like, so we're gonna build a porn star theme park in L.A.
Seemed like a good idea.
Good times.
So, Sean,
Yes.
what did you
Jason
do this
Pecco.
weekend?
Oh, I saw a movie that I loved twice.
And what
Sorry,
movie
a
was
movie
that?
that I love. I saw it twice. It was Jurassic Park in 3D.
3D television format.
It was in the 3D television standard that everyone's
Okay.
been using lately.
Standard.
Standard television definition. Yes, I saw Jurassic Park in 3D. They re-released it. I don't know how long. I think it's only for a couple weeks. They re-released one of the greatest big-budget blockbuster movies of all time. I would say that if I had to say the three movies that come to mind when I think like great blockbuster movies of the last 20 years would be Jurassic Park, Men in Black, and I'd say the first Pirates of the Caribbean. Great, just like exactly what you bargained for in a big-budget, like fucking action-packed, funny, cool movie. That being said... And that's why I bring it up on this show, is specifically for Mr. Jay Carter. The 3D, like, was both really cool in, like, 2 moments, and then in a 2.5-hour movie for 2 hours and 15 minutes, just fucking terrible, and took away from the movie.
Captain EO terrible?
No.
Okay.
But
Captain EO is wonderful. I don't know
But
what you
Captain
do.
EO, it's
Beautiful
hard
thing. I love
to
Captain
You
EO.
saw me
separate.
rip my glasses off and cover one eye because it hurt so bad.
No, Captain EO. There was a guy talking at our work a couple weeks ago, and he had been like an Imagineer forever. And somebody asked like what his like if there was ever a ride that he was kind of like ugh on, and he was like, "Well, I guess we can all agree that Captain EO was a bit of a mistake." And I was like, "Amen, brother." But yes, the problem with Jurassic Park is that in the T-Rex scene, that looked amazing. That looked like what they spent all of their time on. That looks like what they showed Steven Spielberg when he came around and was like, hey, you guys are taking this movie that I made and putting it in 3D. They would show that scene. He'd be like, this is going to be awesome. The problem is, a lot of that movie isn't running away from dinosaurs. A lot of the movie is like just conversations between people. And the way that they did the 3D, it made it look, and whenever there was a static shot of human beings, it looked like they had filmed those scenes in front of a green screen in 1993. It was awkward. It looked super, like, it just looked unreal. You know what it looked like? It didn't even look like a green screen. It looked like those old school CD-ROM games, like Seventh Guest, where, like, there was full motion video in front of just a 2D background. And I wanted to bring that up to you guys. I did see it twice, though, so obviously something
That did not prevent you from.
passed that up. And
Well,
one of
it was
those
the movie
times-
on the big screen, regardless.
Yeah,
So that had you.
And that's what. By the time I left, I realized that all things considered, I didn't have a terrible experience. But all things considered, I was like, man, I wish there was a 2D showing of this movie. I would see it in a heartbeat in 2D.
So next time, if you want to go see it, I have a pair of glasses that I've created by kind of putting Frankenstein 2 pairs together that only lets you see the left eye version of the film.
No way.
So you can go, should you want to, you can go to a 3D movie and see the 2D version.
That's amazing because the way I got around this was closing one eye and watching full scenes. And the other thing, the last thing about the 3D that I didn't like is it was Real D or Real 3D.
Real D?
Real D, the ones where your glasses have like a little motor in them.
Oh, no, that's active.
Expand.
Yeah, those awful.
Yeah.
Because the glasses themselves, like the physical glasses.
You went to ArcLight, didn't you?
I went to ArcLight. I actually both times I saw it at an ArcLight theater.
ArcLight has the worst
ArcLight.
3D in like
Unbelievable.
ArcLight uses Expand. So
They're too, just really quick, they're too top heavy. And so the problem is you're spending half your time pushing the glasses back up. The problem is, the second problem on top of that stupid problem is when I push them up, I put my finger on right above the bridge of my nose. Well, that's where the stupid sensor is that turns the 3D on and off. So every time I push these glasses up, which happens every 2 minutes because the glasses are too heavy, I'm turning off the 3D, and it's like I'm taking them off and then putting them back on, which causes headaches.
Shouldn't you have learned your lesson
on the first go
on the
around?
first time?
It was two different ArcLight theaters. And so I assumed that maybe the second ArcLight theater. It's
Okay.
fucking Jurassic Park. Like, what do you want me to
Look,
say? That's like I
look.
did bad cocaine, but I'm addicted to cocaine. So I fucking went back to the same dealer. I like cocaine.
Here's the deal. You do know that you have a good friend who knows something about this stuff, so feel free to ask should you want to in the future.
But you hadn't seen it.
No.
You would have told them your opinion right in front of you, like, it's conversion, don't go see it.
I think the day I met you for the first time, you came and spoke at our work about 3D, and this was right after they announced Jurassic Park. And the only question I asked was like, hey, how are they going to do this for Jurassic Park? Because that was the only pressing issue in my mind was like, are they going to fuck up this movie that I love?
It's like, yeah. I get that you want to talk about your thing, but tell me about Jurassic Park.
Yeah, what the fuck are they doing with that?
So, I want to be careful to say, because there's a lot of people who work really, really hard on these films, on the conversion of these movies. I think the hard part is that if something is shot in 3D, like an actual live-action film shot in 3D, it's a real representation of space. Now, that space can be dialed back to be flatter or bigger, but it's like my level of volume relative to Jack's level of volume sitting next to me would be the same because it's filmed. Same thing is true of CG animated films. So we put a camera in there and we shoot the scene just like a real camera. And if you put stereo parameters on it, Jack's amount of 3D or depth would be the same as mine. The problem with conversion in general, it's kind of a philosophical problem, is that you don't have 3D to begin with. So you're taking a 2D image, and regardless of the painstaking amount of work and the fact that your camera's fallen over,
It hasn't been on the whole time.
okay.
But it's flashing.
The fact that that they don't have 3D to begin with means they have to take every single frame, every frame of the movie, and for a 2.5 hour long film, it's a lot of frames, and they literally painstakingly rotoscope out. Let me draw a lasso tool. I mean, it's more complex than this, but let me draw a lasso tool around Jason and cut him out from the background. And then let me shift Jason in one eye, and then, I've exposed some blank space that wasn't there before. Now I have to paint that in and guess what it may have looked like based on previous frames. So there's a problem there, which is that it's an artistic interpretation of the space at the time, which would be fine if it was one artist working on the film, but it's not. It's a team of 1,800 people across the world working on a film like that.
Isn't there a computer algorithm that can do that?
There's line detection algorithms that can help you determine where hard edges are, that help you separate elements, but every single one of those elements algorithms is dialable, which means in some cases it'll miss stuff. Like every single one of those things, no matter what, breaks on hair.
It's like the magic selection tool in Photoshop.
Exactly.
There's like a tolerance.
Exactly. And it breaks on hair. Every single one of them breaks on hair every time. And so, again, I want to be careful. Converted 3D films are not my cup of tea because of it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, in some cases thousands of artists interpreting the space, and no artist has the same artistic tendencies, which means it's a slightly different interpretation, shot to shot to shot to shot to shot, sometimes multiple people in one shot, which means it's going to feel, I think as you put it, just generally like awkward. Like that's the word. It's because as you had one person that was like controlling this whole thing and doing every shot, it might feel more consistent, or at least like, hey, there was a single vision in this, but each shot was maybe not as different to the other shots around it. And so in general, it's not my cup of tea. There's a lot of people that work really, really hard at it.
And there were moments that were really good, and like there was no way that you could ignore, especially because I had known a lot of this from you, and so especially knowing what goes into it, there was no way that you couldn't look at that and go, "That's fucking crazy!" Like that's a batshit insane that actually people did this, and now this exists. My biggest gripe was probably just that it was maybe the wrong movie to do it to, just because it's actually like the camera's fixed a lot. It's a lot of just talking head moments. If you did this to a Michael Bay movie that's a cut every 20 seconds and is nonstop action, I think it would have been, because in the action moments, it added something. It was definitely interesting. I think the big flaw for me was they should have done it the way they did Superman in 3D, where they basically were like, put on your glasses now, watch this kick-ass scene, take your glasses off, just enjoy that this is a giant screen.
And you hit the nail on the head too, by the way. Exactly what happened is, I bet you that Amblin, DreamWorks Live Action, went to all these conversion houses and said, here's a T-Rex scene as a test. Why don't you give us your best shot to win the bid for this project? And exactly that. Spielberg's in love with this one scene, and so they put their A players probably spent a year on this one scene and probably spent 3 months, I'm exaggerating, but a shorter amount of time on the whole rest of the film. So that's it. So you get these scenes that are like, that's amazing, a ton of attention put into that. They probably redid those shots hundreds of times to get them to look right. And then there's the rest of the film.
And then it's funny, it reminds me, I remember talking to a guy who worked on video game Stranglehold, which is a John Woo video game. And it's a pretty kick-ass game, but it is probably one of the best demos that you can download on the Xbox or PSN marketplace. Like, I think it's still available. Go download it and
the
just
game
play
is
that.
Okay, but the demo's like
The demo's
amazing.
Amazing. And I remember talking to the guy about it and going like, man, I loved the demo. And he goes, did you play the game? I was like, yes, I was avoiding talking about the game. And what he said was that game was in development for 6 years, I think, because it skipped, it was in between generations.
Yeah.
So they were working on an Xbox game,
shit.
360 comes out, and they said, hey, why don't you take 2 extra years, but make it for this console that everyone has now? And so he said that they spent the majority of their time on their first level, because that was what they were pitching to John Woo. That's what they were pitching to Microsoft. That's what they were pitching to Midway. So everybody wanted to see that level. So they just tweaked and refined and spent like literally 50% of their dev time on this crazy cool opening level. And then they went, now you have, 6 months to rinse and repeat for 10 levels. And so while the rest of the game isn't bad, it just
it doesn't look anything as
it just
good.
doesn't compare. The game is all about using your environment to kill people, basically. It's a third-person like shooter game, but instead of shooting you in the head, I shoot a light fixture above you, and it drops onto your head. So it's like this playground of things to shoot. You can play that demo 15 times and find a different path each way, and each way is so super cool. And then you get to like level 6, and it's just like, you should just shoot that guy in the head, because we wasted, we had all these great ideas, and we didn't have time to figure out how to make them fit in this environment or that environment. And it reminds me of the same sort of thing of like, you could just see like the love and affection in that T-Rex scene is just obvious. It's so super cool. And then the rest of the movie is, 1, not really built for it, and then 2, kind of just had that feeling of like, man, we got to get through this boring ass scene where a dude is standing still eating ice cream for 10 minutes.
We've talked about kind of like this before too with visual effects, because it gets farmed out to so many different houses, and you're just like, the biggest one for me that like slapped me in the face was when we saw the Hulk, the Edward Norton one, and like, there's this cool shot and there's the Hulk and stuff, and then it shows the helicopter, and the helicopter looks like it was literally like cut and pasted, like old school South Park style, like like as it spins around, you're just like, oh my god, like who did this? And you're just like, yeah, I'm sure not.
Well, it happened on a movie we worked on, but it wasn't even splitting it up. But when we worked on Beowulf, me and Josh, where they would pick scenes to just put everyone on, and there's a scene where
You don't see his penis?
No. Unfortunately, I did.
An important scene.
Unfortunately, I did in textures, and it was a horrible, horrible thing.
Wait a second, hold on.
They had textures for it. It
I
was
wanna
going
do a
to
whole
go.
episode
It
about
was.
that.
It was going to happen.
Did
and
they
scratched it.
mocap a wang?
That's pure animation, man.
Nah,
Okay.
we need no mocap for that.
Intimately
at
familiar.
my desk, we got it down. So they,
I saw the penis tests too for the
I saw for Watchmen.
Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah,
yeah,
Watchmen.
for Manhattan. Yeah,
They
watching
had it
that
for
thing
that,
go like.
too. Yeah, it's really weird.
Wait, hold on. Wait, but how did we only get to this now? This is going to be a 2-hour podcast. So Dr. Manhattan, originally, they did have him, like, in the comic with his, like, dick
Yeah.
hanging out.
He does in the movie.
He does?
see a
Oh
dong.
yeah, you see a dong.
There's a blue dong in
He's
there.
naked.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
We nicknamed it the Blue Dongle.
Oh.
Wow.
When you say we, are you saying
All the people
You?
with comedy sense.
comedy sense, huh?
What he
Is
said.
that-
There's
we're
this-
just gonna let that one slide?
Yeah, no, I've already smacked him on the arm. That was my telltale. Like you've done wrong.
So wait, so in Beowulf, just really quickly, because we need to close the door on this penis.
You don't want to do that.
The original idea was the very, very first pass. There were going to be moments where you potentially could have seen it.
Because there is that whole scene where he's fighting naked.
The idea, he fights Grendel, the bad
Yeah.
guy. His idea, his character type was, I want to fight him on the same ground and make you feel like you're no more powerful than me. I can fight you naked like you are. So they had, I had heard the talk of it really early on, and I didn't believe it. And then one of the guys we work with now at DreamWorks sent me the first texture map pass that goes on to the characters. I'm like, he goes, just scroll down to the bottom of the last pass. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? And it just, as I scroll down, it's almost like this just bush forest is starting to build up as I scroll up, and I'm like, it just keeps going, doesn't it? This is, what is it, 4K? No, it's a 2K projection
Oh my God.
of just cock on screen. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm missing that. That's there.
Who painted that?
I don't know. That's what it was
an
our
intern
one friend,
job.
Mike. It was our one
It's
friend.
an
Mike.
intern job.
You got to paint the dick.
But no,
Beowulf's dick.
I never saw. I saw a pass with just bush on him, and it looked like he was a lady boy or something, like hiding it. The pass I saw, and then they sort of scrapped that idea. And if you watch the movie, they got very witty and little ingenious ideas of hiding it through the fight scene, down to like positioning candlesticks.
It's very Austin Powers.
Yeah, very
intro
Austin
style.
Powers.
I hide mine when I fight.
Yeah, that's what I figured. You want no one to
I
see
take
it.
it back. I'm a gentleman.
You suck it.
Before we get too far away from this, I wanted to mention one
Too
thing.
far away from what?
I know.
Dong.
I wanted to mention that if you're going to go see any 3D film,
Yes.
ask the theater that you're going to go to, what is the viewing technology? And if the answer is not Real D, do not go to that theater.
So Real D are the lightweight plastic glasses.
Yes.
And then, so this is another thing that I did not know is Jurassic Park in another theater could be in Real D. That is dependent from theater to theater, not the
Yes.
Correct.
production.
Correct.
Yeah.
Aha.
It's not. That's just the way that any theater shows it to the audience. But the actual images are in 3D. So there's two sets of images: one for left eye, one for right eye. It's just how does X theater show it to their audience versus X theater? And there's three main ones. There's active, which is usually Expand, which I believe is what you saw it in.
Garbage.
Real D, which is pretty much the mainstream one. AMC and Regal Entertainment Theaters all use that. And then the last one is Dolby, which is a convoluted complex system of the old 1950s red and blue technology, as well as the Real D polarized technology. But it color shifts the image slightly. So I don't like that because it color shifts it, and for the exact same reasons you mentioned, active shutter glasses, the Expand system, it's no bueno. So go see Real D 3D movies.
The active ones too. They really darken the scene.
Yeah.
Like, really, really bad.
It was unbelievable. And they did do a thing because when I took the glasses off, they brightened Jurassic Park pretty. Like when you looked at it, it almost looked blown out. So I think they were compensating. I don't know if it was arc light throwing more light behind it.
You do
or
compensate
what.
it because you still get the darkness with even Real D things too, but not as much as you do with the active glass as well. And they won't. And each system too. It's up to the theater's discretion on how much like they
How much they increase the
how much they
brightness
increase
of
it
the
and
bulb.
stuff like that too. And every time I get an ArcLight email going like, how was your experience, and da-da-da, and I go like, it's fantastic, I totally would have seen this movie in 3D if you guys didn't use this, da-da-da-da-da-da. And so every single time I've always commented on the fact that I will never watch a 3D movie there until you guys change your system.
Because I will do that because as JPEGO knows, I am that guy who definitely will be like, you know what? I really hate that you.
But you'll go see it twice. That's Sean Kearney, everyone. That's Sean Kearney.
That is me.
Hey, that's 2 emails.
That's
That
two
is- that-
emails.
yeah,
that
two
might be 3
experiences.
because you know what? It's down the street from my apartment, and I'm probably going to go see it one more time. So fuck it.
There you go.
I'm lazy more than I have values.
So something ArcLight does do right, and for people who don't live in LA, ArcLight is one of the nicer theaters here in LA. Once a year, the American Film Institute gets with ArcLight, and they do a special day
Of viewing
of
Newsies, the musical.
viewing television film productions at film quality, where they pull movies out of the archives, and they have a actor from the film host and intro the film. This year's list is pretty amazing, and it's on a Wednesday, so I was thinking about tickets go on sale tomorrow, maybe doing a little Nerdtastic
I can't. I have
field
to do
trip.
the podcast on Wednesdays.
No, this would be in place of.
We podcast from the actual theater.
We'd have to bring a little whisper. Like,
Yeah.
So the movie selections, and first of all, the reason it even got sent, it got sent by me and one of our Dreamers friends, David Bazelon. Blade Runner,
In
hosted by Harrison Ford.
double in. We just need to do that, right? Like, let's just get fucking.
Okay, that sold me instantly. Jason doesn't know good film, so he won't go to that one. He
I'm in.
will
Monkey
potentially go to.
Monkey Bone.
Monkey Bone. As long as Brendan Fraser's there.
You know, I'm looking at the list. It's funny. You think he'd be here, but he's really not. He's
Burnt
really not
all
in.
the negatives of
He's
that
really
movie.
not in. Pulp Fiction.
Ooh.
Samuel Jackson's hosting.
Oh, come on.
No, it's crazy. This is all in one night.
on.
These are all in different theaters.
That's
It's hosted.
Tarantino's worst film.
Wait,
Continue.
is this like quickly? Can you
You're
get
gonna love
tickets to
this.
this?
They go on sale tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Will they sell out in like 30 seconds?
$30 a ticket. They sell out literally within the first hour.
All right, we need to do this.
Usual Suspects, Kevin Spacey hosting.
You got
I
me
know,
there.
I know.
You got
That was
me
the other
there.
one. That one and the Blade Runner were the two that got
It's
me.
a
instantly.
shame, Jay. It's a shame, Jason, that you haven't seen Kill Bill Volume 2
I have.
or Jackie Brown.
I've seen both
that
of
you
those
said
films.
that Pulp
No,
Fiction
no.
was Tarantino's worst movie.
I have seen both of those films, and Pulp Fiction is the worst film Tarantino's ever made,
God,
Oh
dude.
my god.
including Death Race and.
Oh yeah.
I love how
Sean's.
Sean's just learning this about you. We've all known it forever.
Pulp Fiction is
unreal.
a horrible, horrible
God.
film. It is a terrible atrocity to the filmmaking
Shut
world.
your mouth.
Fans of this show, don't listen to Jason Carter.
It is god awful.
Okay, why do you think that? Please.
Uh-oh.
No, don't get me wrong, because
It's
I think I
boring.
enjoy the movie very much, but I think it's one of the most overrated movies
We've lost
in
Curry.
cinema history.
Completely agree.
But it's not that I
agree.
don't like it. I do enjoy the movie, but I think it is way overhyped.
Gotcha. No, I
Or
think
overrated.
I think it's terrible. It's there's dialogue which Tarantino does brilliantly, but it's not dialogue in the context of any kind of good story. There is no story. It's just disjointed scenes of dialogue. That's all that movie is. There's no
There's no plot.
There's no plot. Django and Inglourious Bastards, that's where to me, that's where Tarantino's starting to say, hey, this dialogue thing that he's really good at with plot equals brilliant filmmaking. Just random conversation. Saturday Night Live does that every Saturday. Continue.
I can't even justify
Forget
anything that
that
comes
just
out of his
happened.
mouth about that.
What else?
So, okay, here's the movie
Monkey
list.
Bone doesn't even have dialogue.
No, it's the movie list.
I was going to say the monkey should host this.
So, in order, we have Misery. Kathy Bates is hosting.
Come on.
Never saw it. Is that any good?
Never saw
It's
it.
really
It's
good.
it's pretty good. Moonstruck, if you want to see Cher, she's hosting.
Didn't she?
skip that one.
Never mind.
Die.
Norma Ray, Sally Fields hosting. I just like Sally Field.
Never seen that.
Easy Rider, Peter Fonda's hosting.
Oh, that's
dude.
it. That's all
Wait,
I want to do.
I thought Peter Fonda's dead.
No.
No.
You're thinking Dennis Hopper, who directed Easy Rider.
He's dead.
Terms of Endearment, Shirley MacLaine. That's not a bad one either.
Wait, she's alive too?
He
Yeah,
directed
MacLaine.
it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ghost, old Demi's getting up there. Heard she's single.
I liked her in G.I. Jane.
Shrek. Oh, Mike Myers is going to be there.
Hey.
In the Heat of the Night, Sidney Poitier.
Wow.
Whoa.
I didn't know he was alive.
And
I'm
another
quite honest.
another one that's pretty amazing, The Thing, hosted by Kurt Russell.
Oh, that's what we gotta go do.
What I like
Kurt
about
Russell's
this is we
beard
could
in
buy
that movie is
tickets.
so good.
We pretty much could buy tickets, and all of us could go to different movies.
That's super true.
We all could see
I don't know if
different
there's
hosts.
a movie shitty enough for Carter to go to though. He'd be like, you know what? What?
Usual Suspects.
Like, what's
I'm
out
in
right
for
now?
Moonstruck. I'm in for Moonstruck.
I'd be all over Usual Suspects.
I can't
that
even
one's pretty
name a
amazing.
movie bad enough that's out right now that he'd be like, well, I guess I'll see G.I. Joe 2 instead.
Hey, you know, I'm so
Saw that.
I hear it's
saw
really
that the other
good.
day.
Oblivion.
It's fun.
Oblivion. Anyone excited about Oblivion?
I am.
Yes.
See?
That's the
They're
Tom
premiering it
Cruise.
Elder Scrolls.
tonight.
That was fun.
They shut down all of.
Who was talking about that?
Adam.
Adam at lunch was talking about
They
that.
shut down Hollywood?
Yeah, the Hollywood Boulevard to do the premiere.
So
got the ship there and
Oblivion,
everything.
they showed. So two weird things going back to Jurassic Park.
Oh my
One
God.
is since I saw it twice, and both at ArcLight theaters, one in Hollywood at the Dome, and then one in Sherman Oaks, right near my apartment. They showed the trailers in Sherman Oaks. All of the trailers were in 3D. At the Dome, all of the trailers except for one, and I can't remember what that one was, were in 2D. But yet it was the same exact movies. It was Oblivion and it was Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. But I will say,
I was hoping they showed all the trailers from the 80s.
that would have been amazing. But what I did see is I saw the trailer for Oblivion and I saw Jurassic Park Wednesday night at the first screening they were doing of it. And then that night I had a dream that I watched Oblivion and that it was really good. And I woke up and was like, man, that fucking Oblivion movie's great. And it took me 20 minutes to realize that it was not the movie. I hadn't seen the movie because it's not out yet. And that the dream I had was a completely different movie because it wasn't even based on the trailer. It was just another sci-fi movie.
Was Tom Cruise in it?
No, he wasn't in it, but Morgan Freeman was. I mean, I don't know if Tom Cruise was because it was like a faceless dude. I can't remember what the plot was, but it was like the most ingenious sci-fi movie I'd ever seen that I was like, yes, this is brilliant. Woke up and was about to tell my wife that she needed to watch Oblivion because it was really good before my brain all put it together and was like, you had a dream that you saw a movie that was better than the movie that you saw trailer for. So, welcome to my world.
I've only done that. I've only
Trick
done
within
that
a dream.
once.
Yeah.
Where when I was a kid, I had a dream that we were going to Magic Mountain, and we were getting all prepared for that. And in my dream, nothing exciting happened. It was literally the day
preparation.
before. It was the preparation. I made my bed. I hung out. So I woke up the next morning because it was literally I went to bed in my dream. I woke up the next morning and I'm walking out and I asked my mom, what time are we going? She's like, what are we going to what? I'm like, Magic Mountain. She goes, we're not going to Magic. I was like, you just talked about it yesterday. You told me we were going. She's just like, no. And I just completely got just flown back from this,
Mom, you suck.
Why? And I remember,
Go to your room.
And I remember, in my dream, before we went, I would look down and there was a Transformer package of a Transformer toy in its package still. And I remember going oh, I'm going to open that tomorrow. So I run up to my room and I look by the door and I'm like, the toy is gone. And I'm just like, was that a dream? And I
is
was
no
completely
spoon.
just dumbfounded for the next 3 hours, going what the fuck is happening to me? But yeah, that shit
Fucked up.
10 a.m. tomorrow
screws you
morning.
up.
10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Let's get
10 a.m.
tickets.
tomorrow morning.
I don't even know what we
They
should
are
see.
on a Wednesday, though.
what-
It is on a podcast night.
What date?
24th. April 24th.
Okay.
So, last night, I get home, and I'm hanging out with the family, and my wife goes, do you hear something? And I hear this buzzing noise, and it gets louder. And I'm like, what the hell is that?
Please tell me it's a moth.
No. Damn it. And all of a sudden, we hear this, it gets really, really loud. And I look in my kitchen, and there is a bee going nuts. I've never seen a bee travel this fast ever, going from light bulb to light bulb. And it was a bee. Light bulb to light bulb in my house, and then smacked into the refrigerator, smacked into the cupboards, and we were just mesmerized by this bee. I've literally never seen an insect travel this fast, and it was going all around. We were scared to go into the kitchen, but it was it stopped for just a second for me to identify it was a bee, and then it goes up, hits a light, stops for a second, and a stream of liquid emerges from the butt of this bee, and then it takes off, lands on on the top of my refrigerator, on its back, dead.
What the fuck, man?
Dude, that is some alien ass shit going on there.
I couldn't go up to it. Didn't move. Like, it didn't move for like 10 minutes, and I just was like staring at it, and I was like trying to find like sticks to like. Finally, I got my wife's like hand vac, and I was like, zzz, dead. Like, I don't know. I've never, first of all, seen an insect move this fast ever. It was amazing. It was definitely a bee, and both my wife and I saw this stream about yay long of just liquid come out of its butt, land on the kitchen floor.
Do you think it was its stinger? Maybe it went up and just broke its stinger off on like light bulb.
So. I think so.
It's like fucking light
Or
bulb. I'm taking.
do you guys have any open alcohol containers on your counter?
No.
Okay.
Do bees hang out in alcohol?
Well, maybe he was drunk
Maybe.
and he ran into the wall
Fucking drunk
and
son
died.
of a
But it was moving so fast, and I think it crapped out venom, and then it died.
Let me tell you, this has to be one of the most interesting podcasts we've ever had for the fact of we haven't talked about anything relevant whatsoever.
That's not true. We talked
I
about Jurassic
actually,
Park.
you don't get it. I actually was about to. I was going to maybe end the show on a relevant note. Is that gonna kill your mood, John?
No, I'm
I'm going to Petco on this one. So,
I'm totally fine with
God
it.
knows we'll actually talk
I
about
just think
some
it's
substance.
funny how like I'm sitting
or
there,
we could talk about Jurassic Park. For
well,
the 8th
I'm
time.
just like, 'cause
Look,
fucking
hey,
sick of
before
that
you
movie.
continue, if you know anything about this bee virus, let me know.
It's in Jason's house.
It's
Do not go
scary
in it.
as hell.
Yellow. Was it yellow?
All
I mean,
bees are
could you
yellow.
tell?
What's
No,
a
not
bee?
the bee. The liquid.
Oh,
It was
I don't know.
pee.
Because it says the yellow liquid was a substance that all American native bees have. It is a special acid in their stomachs that they can shoot out at will. The liquid alerts other bees of danger.
Oh, dude, if
That's-
it was a
hold
killer
on.
bee, your
Your
house
house
might
about
be
to
covered
get
in bees right
fucked.
now.
Really quick though, that is from Yahoo Answers Canada. So
God knows.
Take that with a grain
Canadians.
of salt.
The Canadians. in Yahoo land.
take it with a pinch of salt.
and I will just say one last thing.
Comment 2 was.
Well, I typed in bee liquid expel liquid because I wrote liquid twice on accident, and the next thing just says, "Why my nipples expel liquid?"
What? Yahoo Answers.
Exactly.
Yahoo Answers.
Some
Canada.
people have
Is
found
another
this.
Canadian.
It wasn't. I don't know.
Maybe it's not the liquid you're looking at. Jason Pecco.
We talking Durango?
And the fact that none of us in this room are going to be able to play our games once we buy that new device.
Your Xbox 360, you might as well just burn all your games right now.
or hold on to it.
Or
What
hold
are
on
you-
to it. Or just burn it. I don't
What are you
give a
talking
shit.
about? That thing is so fucking awesome. Now I
Burn
get to
it.
put it in another room, and in that room I can fucking play old 360 games on it.
You know.
Why? If the thing's not backwards compatible, why would I burn it? I would need it more.
That's your opinion.
So, Gurney, come to the chase. Explain.
Yeah. So
explain the article.
the rumor is that the Durango will
idiot.
have an x86 processor, so it will not be backwards compatible with the PowerPC architecture of the current Xbox 360. That's the current rumors.
I am so angry.
That and you know what the thing is though is like I think it's a big deal, but I've kind of gotten used to losing that feature on the Sony side of things. Like the first big one always comes with it, and then the next one's like, oh, it's $150, and then the original breaks, and then you have to
I've
get
said
rid of
this
it.
on this show before. I don't care about backwards compatibility. I don't care. I never use it. I have consoles that use it. I bought 3 GameCube games for my stupid Wii. I never play them. I have a bunch of PS2 games on my PS3 that I can't play. I don't care.
See, for me,
It doesn't matter.
it's like I'm like yes, I saved Resident Evil 2 from the original PlayStation. and
How many
I'm
times
like,
have you played it?
0.
Exactly.
All right, I have a whole
But you could.
but I could, and then when I don't have it, I'm like, man, I wish it would come out on PSN, and I
So you
download
cannot
it,
play it there?
so I can not play it there.
Exactly.
So
I'm the exact opposite. Until they released Halo Anniversary, I played Halo 1 and 2, the original Xbox version, several times on the 360.
Aside from but that is like a crazy edge case because you love Halo. Aside from Halo, name 3 games you've played backwards compatible on your Xbox 360.
Xbox 360 or just backwards?
All right, yeah, let's go back.
Curse Monkey Island.
Backwards. So hold on, consoles. Thank you.
I only did it for a couple of games. with
Pirates from Bethesda. Pirates of the Caribbean from Bethesda.
Again, it goes in your monkey bone column of random ass Jason Carter things. That's when
I got it.
you're the only person complaining they haven't put Monkey Bone on Blu-ray yet.
Hey, I typed in Google "bee liquid shootout" and it gave me the Yahoo Canada answers.
Bee liquid shootout.
And also,
Jason's waiting for the 3D conversion of Monkey Bone.
Monkey Bone.
Why hasn't that been converted?
Post converted.
Why hasn't that been converted?
Why aren't they doing that?
So, Josh, what do you play backwards compatible?
I only
what
did it
games?
when the PlayStation 3 first came out. I did God of War game. I played that, and then Shadow of Colossus I was playing on the PS3, even though it was a PS2 game, and then one of the Mega Man Anniversary things.
That's all I wanted mine for was the Mega Man Anniversary, and now I can't.
I mean, yeah, it's great. I'm really excited that, or I'm really disappointed I'm not going to be able to play Madden 98 on my fucking Xbox Durango.
Hey man, 98's the best year.
Yeah, come on. It's
By the way,
meaningless.
I think we should make the game Bee liquid shootout.
I also want to point out that
You could do that.
the second answer was the one
nipple?
about the fear.
Nipple
No,
leaking?
because the first answer in Yahoo Canada was just like, it's really just taking a long poop, and I was just like, that's not true. Let me give it the second answer.
That one's
And
clearly
it was
not
voted
true.
as the answer.
That's what I asked him. I go, what was comment number 2?
Yeah.
In case you didn't know this, the sets of Monkey Bone are currently on display in the Fox Studios of Baja, California.
All right, and that is Nerdtastic in 3D.
Nerdtastic, Nerdtastic, Nerdtastic in 3D.
Mission clock about to expire.